So, good day to each and everyone. I am Vanessa Bakud. For today's video, I'm going to report about the growth and development. So first, let us talk about what is development. Development denotes the attainment of size by virtue of growth and architectural style by the concomitant process of morphogenesis. So, what is concomitant? Concomitant is something that goes naturally together or is associated with something else. So it is the naturally associated with the morphogenesis, which is a biological process that causes a tissue or organ to develop its shape. So morphogenesis is the biological process that causes the tissue and organ to develop its desired shape. So development has three aspects, namely growth, differentiation, and organization. So first, let us talk about what is growth. Growth is an irreversible time change generally accompanied by an increase in size, weight, and or mass. So growth is the process of developing the size of an organ, weight, or mass. The second is differentiation. Differentiation is the outward sign of selective gene action, the reflection of change in the cell's biochemical program as a consequence of the release of information encoded in one-dimensional sequences. So it is the differentiation of the organs. And the lastly is the organization. Organization is the orientation and integration of the differentiated cells in space together with regulated growth with the consequent attainment of form and structure of complete organism. So organization is the one that organizes the complete structure of an organ. And then we will talk about the correlation. Correlation is the regulatory effect exerted by one part of the plant on the growth and development in another part. So correlation is the relation between one part to the another part. And then endogenous rhythm, reoccurring events or oscillations with properties not directly reflecting environmental fluctuations. So endogenous rhythm has three characteristics. These are the annual, lunar, and circadian. So first, let us talk about annual. Annual is the one that reoccur every year. Annuals are plants that complete their life cycle in 1 year. They germinate, grow, bear fruits, and die off within in a year. Example of annual plant is the mustard, the watermelon, the corn, lettuce, wheat, and so on and so forth. And the second is lunar. It reoccur every new moon. Lastly is we have the circadian rhythms. Circadian rhythm reoccur every 24 hours. So circadian rhythms control the time when plants grow, when their flower open and release scent, and allow plants to carefully use energy reserves so they won't be starved in the night. And then we have plant movements. Plant movements may exhibit movements of some organs in response to environmental stimuli. And we have three steps in plant movement. We have the perception, the transduction, and the response. The first is perception. It involves recognition of the environment stimulus by the plant. And we have the transduction. Involves biochemical and biophysical changes which occur in the response to perceived stimulus. And lastly is the response shows the changes in the organ affected by the perceived stimulus. And we have two categories of plant movements. These are the tropic movements or tropism, and we have the nastic movements. So first, let us tackle about the tropic movements or tropism. It is the direction of the environmental stimulus determines the direction of the movement. So these are the one determines the direction of the movement of an organ. And tropic movements has three characteristics. They are phototropism, gravitropism, and solar tracking. Phototropism responds to light. So, phototropism is the growth of an organism in response to a light stimulus. It is most often observed in plants but can also occur in other organisms such as fungi. The cells on the plant that are farthest from the light have a chemical called auxin that reacts when phototropism occurs. I'll show you some picture of phototropism. The next one is gravitropism. Gravitropism responds to gravity. It is a coordinated process of differential growth by a plant in response to gravity pulling on it. And I'll show you some picture of gravitropism. And the last is solar tracking. Flat blade of the leaf is always at nearly right angle to the sun throughout the day. And the second one is nastic movements. Movement may be triggered by an internal timing mechanism or biologic clock, and the direction of the stimulus may not determine the direction of movement. So, nastic movements have 5 parts, which are the hyponasty, epinasty, nectinasty, hydronasty, and thigmonasty. So, hyponasty is bending up of the leaves. So, the hyponastic response is an upward bending of leaves or other plant parts resulting from accelerated growth of the lower side of the petiole in comparison to its upper part. The cause of hyponasty is a higher rate of cell expansion on the lower compared with the upper side. And I'll show you some example of hyponasty. The second one is epinasty. Epinasty is bending down of leaves. Epinasty refers to the way leaves and stems turn downward when their top grows faster than their bottoms. I'll show you some picture of epinasty. The third one is nectinasty. Nectinasty is the folding of some leaves in response to light, which usually assumes a rhythmic pattern because of its interaction with the biological clock, and I'll show you some example of nectinasty. The fourth one is hydronasty. Hydronasty is the folding and rolling of leaves in response to water. And lastly is the thigmonasty, response to touch or mechanical stress.